last year we were in the same position. He was actually a little bit different position. He let his contract run out, and you got to realize this in soccer. If you let your contract run out, you get to sign as a true free agent wherever you want. If your contract has not run out, your team can sell you to another team.
Not trade.
Not trade. You sell the guy. And so go back 24 months. Real Madrid made an offer of $200 million to buy Mbappe, and then they would have the obligation to then agree to a personal contract with him. PSG, who just at that moment brought Lionel Messi in, said, screw you, we're not moving him. I don't care what you offer. We feel like we can win the Champions League, which is the most prestigious thing in club soccer. They didn't. The whole thing didn't work. So last summer, 12 months ago, Mbappe's contract had run out, and there was huge speculation he was going to go to Real Madrid on a basically what's called a free transfer, where Real Madrid pays PSG nothing, and they sign Mbappe for whatever terms they want to sign. That didn't happen. He was basically convinced to stay at PSG on a 2-year deal with an extension for a third. And he did that. The president of France spoke to him, asked him to stay with the French team. It was also a World Cup year in Qatar, where the PSG, his team, is owned by Qatari people. And so, like, for them to go to the World Cup that they're hosting, and PSG has Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar, 3 of the biggest stars in the world, who are all playing in the World Cup in Qatar, there was huge commercial reasons for that to happen. And he signed a crazy lucrative deal. It was rumored to be as much as 3 years for $500 million. And he agreed to that. But it was, again, a 2-year deal with an option for a third. So we're done with 1 year of the deal. He's under contract for this coming season that's about to start. But what he did a few weeks ago was send a letter to the club and say, I'm not renewing for the 3rd year.
Okay.
And what that triggered is PSG now has a choice. He's not signing for a longer-term deal, and either we're going to get paid for him now and sell him somewhere, or we're going to play out a season of 12 months and he's going to walk away for free. And so they put in basically an ultimatum to it and said, by July 31st, you either sign an extension or we're going to sell you. And he kind of just balked at that. They got kind of jumpy, and they basically put him on the market. And if you're not aware of this, Saudi Arabia is pouring money into sports hand over fist. The Saudi governmental fund purchased an English team called Newcastle. They also started that live golf thing that was there, a big thing, paying crazy money. And then they've started to pay with Ronaldo last year, high-level soccer players, huge sums of money. They offered Messi literally up to $1 billion to play there. He chose to go to Miami. So what they're trying to do globally, I think, is get their money out of oil and into other things so they're more diversified as more and more countries kind of press toward electric vehicles and things like that. And so they have money to throw at these things, and it has the potential to kind of upset the apple cart. As we're here right now, they've signed mostly like veteran big-name players to extremely lucrative deals. They've not signed a player in his prime to a lucrative deal. And so right now, the perception is when I get to the back end of my career, the Saudis will pay me a shit ton of money to play out my last days.
Isn't that like a decent way to look at it?
It is a decent way to look at it. But here's what what they did is they saw opportunity. PSG is literally saying we're going to sell Mbappe, and if we can't sell him, we're going to sit him an entire year and just not play him. And what they said is basically, we could be the solution. We have the money to make this work. We're going to offer PSG $300 million for Mbappe. And then they can accept that bid, which they technically have accepted the bid. But now there's the issue, would Mbappe go there? And the rumor is they're putting out a contract of $700+ million for 1 year because they know he wants to go to Real Madrid anyway.
Yeah, that next year.
But their play is we get Mbappe to play in our league in his absolute prime for a year. All the commercial value of that, along with these other stars we've recruited, and then let him go where he wants. But we've convinced the world, we've convinced world soccer that a prime player at the highest possible level will and can play in the Saudi League. We've got that juice.
But why won't Mbappe just do that?
Because Mbappe, and this is the other interesting part of this, he is at a level where he is, we've talked about this in the context of LeBron chasing Michael. Mbappe is chasing history. And there's no fucking history in Saudi Arabia. There's history in Europe. That's where it's at, particularly the Champions League, which is the highest competition. And it's extremely prestigious to score as many goals as possible in the Champions League. It raises your profile, your legacy, and all that stuff. So basically, by you telling him, hey, you come play in Saudi Arabia for a year when you're 24 years old in the peak of your career, that means no Champions League.
You're just losing a year of your prime, basically, for money.
Yeah.
But he can potentially lose that year anyhow if you're saying that team will sit him out.
That's the and what at the end of the day, this is a gigantic game of chicken.
Oh, okay.
On the highest level.
Yeah.
PSG is saying we're going to sit you. Would they really do that? Like, is that what you're going to do?
I couldn't imagine.
Saudi Arabia or the Saudi League has come in and said we're going to pay you money that nobody's ever freaking heard of for one season and let you do exactly what you want to do anyway.
Leave. We're not going to bother you.
We ain't going to bother you. And Real Madrid is sitting there thinking, this is our guy. And there's a rumor that he has a contract with them already signed for next year. And they're looking at it like, we've got a signed deal with him. Why do we want to step in the fray for $200, $300 million now to get this a year early? They patience kind of waits with them. Mbappe's probably his camp is like, hey, I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia. I want to come to y'all now. Do something.
Make this happen.
Yeah. And so it's just the craziest configuration of just like external pressure everywhere.
Do you think he played his card too early with Madrid?
He like at the end of the day, like I feel like if Madrid was that strongly in his heart, he should have followed his heart and gone last year, and just gone. Mm-hmm. Forget what the president says, forget whatever. And again, if you're Mbappe and you show up in the French colors in Qatar and you play like you did, you're a legend. Yeah, none of that matters. No. And it really was a wasted season at PSG, and I could predict it was going to be a wasted season because you had the World Cup literally in the middle of the season. Traditionally, the World Cup is played in June or July. This year it was played in December because of the climate there. And so you start the regular club season normally. Surprise. Messi and Neymar come in great shape, and they're playing amazing for the first couple of months. Then we go to the World Cup. Neymar loses. He fucking gets injured and disappears for the rest of the year. Messi's celebrating for a month in Argentina and comes back not in great shape, not locked in. And then, even Mbappe came back super quick, but, he took up a 2-week break and the team never connected thereafter. And
are they going to get back to the regular schedule?
This year, yeah.
This year? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Everything's back. The World Cup was a one-off.
Okay, just
in
a
that
one-off.
tradition, like the next World Cup in 2026 is here in the United States, but it's going to be in the summer, basically during the club off season, so it doesn't disrupt the middle of a season.
Gotcha.
And so you literally have the biggest sports game of chicken going on between Mbappe, PSG, Real Madrid, and El Hilal, the Saudi government.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. But yeah, and again, when you look at some of these contract figures, though, you have to realize it's not a pure playing contract. You kind of become like part of that contract is maybe essentially becoming like an ambassador for Saudi Arabia, and also your name and image likeness rights. They would own those for the year. And players are high-profile players are extremely reluctant to give that up because that has tremendous value to them, and they have tremendous control over it. So, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be wild. That's all you can say.
Is. What do you think about social media when they're saying when they're looking at these figures, they're looking at these numbers? And they're like, oh man, I'm gonna get my child into soccer. All this, like
There was a couple weeks ago. There was a viral video of a dad who had literally a 2-year-old kid, and he called it Project Mbappe, and he's got him out there in the grass, and he's doing whatever. Like, okay, so what do I think about that?
I mean, because the end of that thought is like, these are the top of the top guys. Like, I don't want to shit on anybody's dream of getting offered $700 million a season, but that's probably not going to happen.
I mean, we've had 2023 years since Jesus died, and this is the first time it's ever happened. So, if you got 2,000 years to wait around, we'll see what's up. There's always fathers, sons, families that want this for their kid. Mm-hmm. That this is what they aspire to. I mean, all these kids, we had our guy Brandon in with the football, and there's a part of him that he would love to see his son in the league and doing great and all that. I mean, that's what drives sports. It's the fantasy, it's the lottery thing of maybe that's you one day, or maybe that's your kid, or whatever. That's that guy. That's Mbappe, and that's what drives this industry as much as so many other things. I don't think it necessarily changes, but I do think, from a U.S. perspective, you do see again, you're not a soccer guy, but you're starting to see this. It gets on your radar, and you're like, hold on. And one of the things, and I looked at this a couple weeks ago, on Instagram, and just measuring Instagram followers, which roughly translates into money at some level. Yeah. Ronaldo has 1 billion followers. Mm-hmm. Mbappe's up there 700 million. If you look at tier for tier, soccer guys are way higher than NBA guys, and NBA guys are way higher than freaking football guys. And there's when you make it big in soccer, I mean, it just doesn't get bigger. I mean, that's just a real thing. And you do that. And again, Messi's playing in Miami now. He's put 2 games. He's got a couple goals. LeBron's there. Serena Williams is there. Everybody's there. It's a spectacle, man.
And they're really, who am I to say? But I would bet they're not soccer people. And that's the
not
same
serious thing soccer players. There's a celebrity thing. It's here's this guy. He's the GOAT.
I'm a Messi
I gotta go
guy,
see
and
this.
you know that.
Yeah, I know you're a Messi
I'm not
guy.
a soccer guy.
Yeah, but you're a Messi guy.
But I watch all Messi games. And when he retires, same thing with baseball. I'm not a baseball guy, but when Barry Bonds was playing, I was watching every game.
Yeah.
And I know. So stars in each sport matter. Cause I'm sure there's people that are not NBA guys, but they'll watch if LeBron is playing or Curry or whatever.
There's
something to that.
Something about greatness.
Yeah.
Greatness is attractive, and when you get a whiff of it, if you get a scent that somebody is actual greatness, you hear about it, and you're drawn to see what is it?
Yeah.
What makes this guy different?
And then if they confirm it, because I'm you got to imagine this. I was working at Rollins at the time, and Rollins in the facilities department, there's all these different nationalities. Yeah. So when you have all these different nationalities, soccer is huge in all these various different countries. So when the World Cup would come around, and I was there for 3 World Cups. That's how long I worked there.
Gosh almighty.
That's how long I worked there. And while I'm there, and everybody's getting so hyped up, and everybody keeps telling me Messi. Oh, and of course other soccer players as well. But when you keep hearing it, and then you finally sit down and just watch a game in a break room, and then the first game and he does something amazing, you're this is what they're talking about. And the same thing it could be for Jordan or for LeBron or for Mbappe or whatever. It's when they confirm the greatness.
Yeah. When you hear it and you see it and you're like, holy shit.
This is
yeah. And you look at the World Cup final, which featured Argentina's Messi winning in a penalty shootout against Mbappe's France. Argentina, for the first 65 minutes of the game, was up 2-0. They were controlling the game. The game was dead. Mm-hmm. It was boring. And I'll never forget, I might as well be French. That's my team. There's no other, it probably rivals FSU football at this point for the French national team.
That's big.
Mbappe scores a goal to pull it to 2-1. he ties the game at 2-2, and it feels like holy fucking shit. And like on social media, people that I know don't watch soccer, they're like, this motherfucker don't want his team to lose. Like, and like that's the first time they're ever seeing this guy. And I've been in it for 6 years, and it's just like, yeah, welcome to the party. This is what he does, you know. And then now everybody's seeing it, and you know, it just was, it's amazing to see. It's one of the great things in sport. Like, no matter what sport you like, to watch like a truly great performer rise and command a critical moment. It's what it's all about, man.
It's shit is fucking legendary.
Yeah.
It's like amazing.
I shit you not. I mean, like, all nonsense aside, that's what I live for. I don't live to work or to pay bills or anything like that. I live to have Mbappe score 3 goals in the World Cup final and carry his country. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, when like I'm on the verge of tears when that's happening. I can't. You know, I'm like, that's my fucking guy. You know, it's unbelievable. And like those, like, there's something about, like, you know, life is like, it's the moments that take your breath away. I mean, for me, in so many ways, it's those sporting moments when a guy just does something. You're just like, God damn, I'm glad I can see this. You know, this is what it's about. And he's that dude. You know, and Messi's been that dude in his own way, and it's just special. It's what makes sports so alluring.
It is.